From St. Joseph, Missouri, here is Travis Lee Hartman.
Two-niner. Did I hear a
Alpha.
niner? Did I hear a niner in there?
Did I hear a niner in there?
This is the latest episode of Weighing In with Travis Hartman. I am B Money, the producer, Brandon Waters. That over there is Weekend Trav, a.k.a. Travis Hartman. Hi.
What's up, brother?
How are you today?
I'm doing well. You're probably doing a little bit better because your Packers won.
We can get to that in a minute. First and foremost, let's thank our media partners, TH Boxing, Gulfstream Financial, IF Enterprises. Thank you, as always, for your media support. Mm-hmm. Now that we have that out of the way, Weekend Trav, let's talk.
Yes, sir.
Let's talk about stuff. First and foremost, how was your weekend?
It was solid. Got to. We went down to West Palm Beach, Jupiter, and Irina's father turned the big 6-0, which is what my dad is as well, 60 years old. So we went down there and had a nice little get-together Friday and Saturday night.
Great.
I drove back up here because we had to record the podcast. So I had to come back to Orlando.
This is not a job, Weekend Trav. This is fun for us.
It's dedication, though. You got to be dedicated to what you do.
Did you come back solo?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yep.
All right.
I drove separately and everything.
Hey, batch that. Yeah, what are we gonna do after this?
Well, she'll be home later.
Probably not. I gotta go to sleep. I can't handle that stuff. So Weekend Trav, we're in the weekend time frame, 3-day weekend. To those listening or watching on Monday, happy Martin Luther King Jr. Day. I don't say that in jest. I think it's a very important holiday for our country and just in recognition of racial injustices that we've had to work through for decades. And I think the way Dr. King did it in a peaceful manner was really the prototype and what I wish we would see more of nowadays. But we don't want to get into all that today. We don't want to get into a political rant today. Because frankly, I'm tired of being shadow banned. Weekend Trav.
I'm so over that word. I'll be happy if I never have to hear that
never
word
have
again.
to say shadow banned. Yeah. So let's go ahead and jump to the most fun part of the segment first, or of our episode first. The segment.
Yes, sir.
Weekend Trav. Look at this. I think in all of our glory, I think our lighting might be set up very well today, and we can see that Pepto-Bismol pink coming through.
This is the flamingos coming in hot.
Now we know why flamingos are pink.
Yes, they're. Let me tell you. Wait. Why are they pink? Oh, I know this.
It has to do with what they eat because they're actually naturally white.
It's algae. It's the algae they eat.
It's the shrimp, actually. It's
the shrimp.
Eating,
Okay.
That's part of the brine and all that stuff that they eat. It makes them pink. They're actually born white.
Albino flamingos.
Yeah. So interesting. Which just
you
goes
learn
to
something
show
new
you
every day.
It doesn't matter what color you are, pink or white.
He was born white, turned pink.
Turned pink. You can. Well, I don't know. I don't even know what the analogy is. So. Episode 29, folks, for those keeping track at home. If you have not yet subscribed, please do so. If you're following on YouTube or anywhere else, just hit whatever the subscribe button is for the medium of choice, do so. And even on YouTube, they have the bell icon. Go ahead and hit that too to be notified every time we update the episodes for the podcast. Every time we do a new vlog, which we've done 2 of those so far. We're going to do more of those. Interviews in this corner. And then we do other stuff, right?
Yeah, we do the fight nights as well. We go behind the scenes of some of the boxers that I train, because I train some pro boxers as well. So we do behind the scenes that, which was really cool. You did some really good job, producer. You produced a very good Dallas, Texas trip.
Dallas was a lot of fun. So I hope we do more of that because it was number one when my spouse was on board with the trip like that. Love it.
Happy wife, happy life.
Happy wife, happy life. For those, if that's all you take away from this episode 29, Weighing In with Travis Hartman, is happy wife, happy life.
I heard a new one too.
Job solved. What is that?
Happy spouse, happy house.
Okay.
So I got some wisdom this weekend from
That's right.
Couple that's been married for 30 and 40 years.
I can't remember who gave me this a little bit of wisdom one day. It was many years ago. But sometimes, Weekend Trav, you just got to swallow the turd. And you just got to move forward. What's best for the household.
Sounds really crappy.
Hey.
I'm getting the dad jokes already, bro.
Like
I'm going to be amazing.
Maybe that'll be the new segment. It's the dad joke of the week. Weekend Trav, we are kind of in a lull of boxing. I know there's some sprinkling of news and things and rumors and everything like that.
Yeah.
Maybe we touch on some of that stuff. And then for those watching at home, I want to, or listening at home, I want to get into the softer side of the podcast.
Ooh.
Let's get to know Weekend Trav a little bit. Not Weekend Travel, because I think a lot of folks that are following us here, they remember you or friends of yours from way back when, Missouri days, things along those lines, have followed your fight career up to this point, but maybe are a little disconnected and would like to get in touch with who you are now.
This is true. I think I've grown and evolved. So yeah, I think I definitely am.
So I think we'll get to that. But let's touch on some of the boxing stuff going on, or at least what's rumored to be going on, and we'll go from there. So without further ado, I've already talked way too much past my time frame. Weekend Trav, what are we weighing in on today?
I think straight from the horse's mouth, which is Eddie Hearn. He is claiming that Anthony Joshua versus Tyson Fury is a done deal. They've already agreed in principle to the finances, which is always the hardest part. And now they're just trying to settle where they're going to have the fight at. He said probably the Middle East, but he's not sure. And they're working on the TV rights and all of that. But I think it's great news because that's the biggest fight in the heavyweight division right now. It's been the biggest heavyweight fight, honestly, for some time now because they're both from England, Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua. So the fact that they've gotten together, and Eddie Hearn with DAZN, so that's what's big is Eddie Hearn started DAZN and Matchroom Boxing. That's who promotes Anthony Joshua. MTK Global, who we actually know a little bit about, by the way, B-Money, they're the ones who the Campbells were telling us about. That's who is.
We know some things.
That's the guy that is, or the team that is behind Tyson Fury. So the fact that they made a deal, which is pretty cool, and the fight's going to be over in the Middle East, they're saying, but it's not signed. But Eddie Hearn said it's completely done. The finances are done. They're literally just working on television. So I think that it's done. I think that fight's happening. Now the next thing they're going to do is they're going to announce a date. And he said two things though. He said the finances are done, and then he also made a mention of the rematch will for sure be in England. So I'm like, there's going to be a rematch. So we're getting two fantastic fights. Win or lose, we're going to get a rematch. And I think that's fair. I think no matter who wins that fight or how they win that fight, they're both that good that I want to see a rematch for dang sure.
Yeah. I think for them to just work out the numbers, not just for the one, but also the preliminary numbers for a rematch, that's pretty big. So that just means they've been talking for quite some time.
And that's good. That means both of these top guys wanted the fight.
Yeah.
Tyson Fury came out openly and was like, dude, I want the fight. And most fighters will say that, and then behind the scenes, you'll see the promoter just kind of wiggle out of fights and overprice themselves. But this time, it's clear. Both guys are being honest. Anthony Joshua, I want to fight Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury, I want to fight Anthony Joshua. Guess what? The fight's happening. So what I like to say, though, is Errol Spence, Terrence Crawford, take a page from their book right now. Make it happen. If you two want to fight, it can happen because these are two mega giants, and they made it happen.
Well, once again, who actually needs to take the page out of that playbook?
Yeah, Bob Arum.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And everyone and their mother is critical of this guy, yet, he is who he is. So
it's crazy that you brought up Bob Arum too, because I just watched an Instagram live of Keith Thurman. Oh my gosh. He was name calling Bob Arum. He was swearing, cussing up a storm. And to be fair though, most of the stuff that Keith was saying was not wrong.
No.
He actually was spot on with a lot. He's actually echoed a lot of things we've talked about Bob Arum, how all Bob Arum's great fighters leave him. All of his good fighters leave him, then they become greats.
Yeah.
So there's something to be said about that.
Did he, during his Facebook Live, did he answer any questions about his hairline?
He did not.
Didn't he
I think
recently?
He mentioned it.
Ellie put something up there on YouTube. I think he had to shave it because it was like
he did.
It was LeBroning. It was continuously going back.
He used to have dreads and longer hair, right? And finally he shaved it all completely. And now, yes, his forehead looks a little more pronounced than normal.
It's okay,
And when they salute him, he salutes like this.
Time catches us all, I guess.
It's like he ain't got a 4 head, he got a 5 head.
5 head.
I'm joking, Keith. Calm down.
But I'm not joking. The 5 head remark is kind of funny because back in the day. So in my college days, we had we were not good people back then. I was a frat guy. We had nicknames for everybody. We had one day I was sitting in class with my buddy. His nickname was Easy, and my buddy Ray Underwood.
Easy.
Eric Larson. He's a very professional pharmacist now, close to us in St. Cloud. So, privately owned practice. I don't know the name of it, but I'm going to find out, and we'll mention it on the show one time. But him and a good buddy of mine, Ray Underwood, we sat in the back of one class because it was so boring, and we just pulled out a piece of paper and started writing every nickname we had for everybody.
Oh, you just made a list.
A list.
You guys are rotten.
And it was like 3 pages front and back, 2 columns, and we just had nicknames. We just kept coming. We're like, oh my gosh, yeah, that person, that person.
That's cold-blooded, bro.
Like 5 heads, one
That's
of them.
cold-blooded.
There was one girl we called the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown, because one time her sorority shirt was like an orange shirt for some reason for like an event, and she was not a small girl, she was a big girl, and she put that big old orange shirt on, and we're like, that's the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown.
Did you crush her?
No.
Did you crush her heart when you said that to her?
Well, a lot of these names were
crush
behind
their
backs.
ego?
Behind backs.
Oh, so you guys were even worse. You couldn't even say it to their faces.
Well, with one, we called her Nichols. I think I mentioned this on a prior episode. And we did call it to her face because her face looked like she got hit with a sock full of nickels.
Oh, my gosh. Wow.
Once again, I used to be a very bad person.
Now we're not only getting shadow banned, we're getting banned by every activist rights group out there.
Listen.
Hashtag Me Too.
Listen, I'm not proud of those days completely. Partially.
I think you are.
But not completely.
I think you're a little bit.
This is okay.
It's behind you. It's behind you.
Let's go back. So Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua, looking like a done deal. Middle East. Who knows when during the year yet? They're trying to figure that out. I'm going to call it right now. Hashtag King of England.
Like it. I like
Boom.
it. I like it.
If you're listening, any of you important people listening, hashtag that King of England. These 2 guys are going for it.
It's good. That's a good one. They're going to be king of the world as well, but king of England for sure because they're both. It's really rare too to see 2 guys that are that massive from the same country. So that's why it's kind of special, and that's why this fight. Oh my gosh!
I don't know is my geography correct in saying king of England rather than like king of UK or whatever?
No, you can say. It's London, England. You could say. Better. I mean, the UK. The UK though is not just England. The UK is
Scotland,
yes.
And Ireland and all that.
So England was correct because they're both from England.
Okay.
So
England.
you're okay for there.
Okay.
So it works. That one works.
Okay.
But it's a big fight, and I mean it's a big fight. It's a big fight on the global scene, though. It's not a big fight just in England. It's a big fight everywhere, and that's why. That's when you know it's a huge fight, is because the first fight is going to be in the Middle East, so they know that people are going to tune in. The rematch, holy crap! They're going to have a soccer stadium that holds over 100,000 people because they will 100% sell that out.
You mean something like Wembley Stadium?
Yeah, they will 100% sell that out.
Yeah.
Easily. Like I'm telling you right now for a fact. I don't care who wins that fight or how they win that first fight. The rematch, they will 100% sell out a massive arena. I'm guessing like 100,000. I think they did like 80 or 90,000 when Anthony Joshua fought Klitschko. So, and I think it was similar when Tyson Fury fought Klitschko. So I know they're going to sell out 100%. Not only are they going to sell out, they're going to sell out a massive arena, not just like a 40,000 seat arena. I'm talking like a 100,000 seat arena. They're going to sell it out.
Now, that's also assuming that our conditions are a little bit better in the world and they're able to do so. That would be the second fight. So I think they're almost hedging themselves on that anyways. Getting that many people in, hopefully.
They're figuring to the end of the year.
Could be a year from now anyways. If the first one's in 6 months, maybe they do it 6 months after that. So 12 months total. Hopefully by then.
I think we'll see 2 fights in 2021.
I think when we get past Wednesday, you're going to start seeing less and less mask protocol anyways.
This is true.
Or
what's Wednesday, Brandon?
Or economies starting to open up and that sort of
What's
thing.
Wednesday, B-Money?
Doesn't matter. We're not getting into it. Anywho.
We all know what Wednesday is.
Yeah, I know. But they tune into us for this.
Okay.
And for shenanigans.
But sometimes.
And for your shirt.
Weekend Trav. What?
I think the folks don't want to listen to political rants currently.
I know. I'm just saying.
I want a break from it.
I do too, and I'm just saying. I'm seriously still a little bit out of breath from doing the Facebook Live, and I punched the bag. I think I'm still tired.
So for those that did not tune into Facebook Live, did you do that on your personal or the?
I did, and I'll share it on the page as well.
Okay, so follow our Facebook page, Weighing In with Travis Hartman. You'll get the video link to it, and so just the typical thing. We like to do a Facebook Live prior to recording this. And then from there, we obviously record. And
dive into it all.
So what did you have to do there, Weekend Trav?
We had one of the listeners, Rick Raven. He asked me if I put the gloves on and punch the bag for a little bit. And I was like, nah, man. I was like, I can't do that right now. Like, no way. He's like, do it bare knuckle. And I was like, definitely can't do it bare knuckle. I'll definitely hurt my hands. But so he talked me into it. So at the very end of the Facebook Live, I put the gloves on, my American flag gloves, America. And I came over here, B-Money held the bag, and I wailed on the bag for a good 10 to 15 seconds. I went nuts. I was hitting that bag hard and fast, and it took a while for me to catch my breath.
Yeah.
But I didn't warm up. Come on. There was no warm up. There was no stretching. So I was out of breath.
It went 0 to 100 real quick.
It did.
And
from
yes.
6 to midnight fast.
So take a look at that video post because you can see he is out of breath. I had to close the Facebook Live.
Yeah, he had to finish it out. Producer had to come and do some work.
And I don't like doing that. So, all right. So that's the big fight, or big fights, I should say, because it looks like there's 2 of them lined up.
That's the only thing on the scene really right now.
Yeah, there's other stuff, little things here and there, but we have plenty of time to talk about that in the coming weeks, episode 30, 31, 32, yada, yada, yada. So what we wanted to do here, let's first of all highlight here what we're drinking. We have this, we're doing another flavored bourbon, Wild Turkey. Everyone knows Wild Turkey for the most part. We're doing the American Honey.
America.
A flavor of this. So, you know what? I'm actually liking this. This is just a nice day for it.
Perfect.
It's pretty chilly outside. It's a good flavor. It's a nice long weekend.
Easy to go down.
That's what she said.
Did she?
Oh.
I love you.
Not my problem.
He says,
Not my problem. It's very good.
It's not bad. I rate both of the Jack Daniel's honey and the American honey. I'm rating them high. They've been my favorite.
We forgot to rate last week.
We did. All right. Let's rate last week and this week.
So last week was the Jack honey. I like this one better.
I actually originally first drank this first.
Jack honey, I'm going to go 6.9. Boxing gloves out of 10.
Jack Daniel's honey, I am going to go much higher.
Okay.
I'm going to go at 8.0.
Whoa. I gotta do the math there, Weekend Trav. Goodness gracious.
14.9. 7, 4.5. 7.45. No?
Come on.
Yeah.
No?
Oh, that'd be 15.
11.
7.4 like
carry
2.
The 2.
7.425.
Jeez. Stop throwing numbers at me.
Here. I'll do it right now. I'll get the calculator. 14.9.
7.45. 7.45.
That's what I said. That was what I said first.
Whatever.
See? I'm not that silly. All right. Now, fresh in your mind, American honey.
And that might be that's probably why I scored the JD honey so low, is because it's not fresh in my mind right now.
Fair.
Because I've been, what was I drinking? During the week, I got that one bottle of the High West rye that we had over at Hagen O'Reilly's to close out. So I have that in my house right now.
You liked it that much? That's good.
I do, yeah. I liked it better there, but I don't know. Talk about it later. So this American honey from, once again, Wild Turkey, I like it a little better. I'm more of a purist with these things. The flavored ones are nice. They serve their purpose in the moment, I guess, but I'm not going to rate them as high as just a very good bourbon, plain bourbon or plain rye. So I'm going to rate this higher than the JD honey. I'm going to give this a 7.2 because I could see myself continuing to drink it. It's not one of those where it's a novelty and you have one and you're like, oh, that's good enough.
You could repeat this one.
Yeah, it's not like the stupid screwball we had the one time, that peanut butter thing.
Yeah,
Ugh.
not a big fan.
No, that was nasty.
Openly did not like that one. So I'm going higher again. I'm going to give this one like an 8.2.
Wow. Okay, so I said 7.2 and you said 8.2?
Yep.
That should be easy math.
15.4. 15.4. 7.
7.7.
Is it 7.7?
7.7.
77?
Right?
Did
I do it? Wait, did I do it?
I don't
right?
know. I got the first one right. I can't do 2 in a row.
Maybe I didn't do that right. I'm losing my skill all weekend, Trav.
Man, you're asking a box right now? I'll do the math again. It'll be 8.2 plus 7.2.
Divided by 2?
11 point, wait. Okay, hold on. 8.2 plus 7.2 equals 15.4.
It's 7.7.
Divided by 2, 77. 77. Good numbers. They're lucky numbers.
7.7.
We didn't even do that on purpose.
All right, so there we have it. That is the Wild Turkey American Honey. We're going to keep drinking it, but we're just going to talk here because you tune into a podcast to hear guys or gals or whoever just talking about whatever it is that they're talking about. And you know what? I mentioned at the onset of this that, maybe we just want to chat with you and get to know what's going on with you currently. If you've been following our episodes or just communicating with us in whatever fashion it is, you know what's going on. I get that. But I think it's good to do this just solo too. Like strip everything else back there's boxing stuff going on, but we're kind of in the middle of some big stuff. This is a good time to really catch up on life and whatnot. So I think most of the listeners, or some of the listeners, I should say, know you from the past. They know you growing up, Missouri, following your career, following you on whether it's Facebook, whatever else, but maybe don't grasp who you are today, right? So let's get to that. And this is where it's the lumping it on me to do more of the Q&A with you, which is fine with me. But Weekend Trav. Travis Hartman.
You're gonna peel back some stuff, are you?
You're an onion, and I'm peeling back the layers.
I'm gonna do my best here.
So I think
this isn't scripted, by the way.
No, it's not.
I don't know what he's gonna ask, now that he's saying all this, I'm a little worried. But
and by the way, my notes
is
what I've been scribbling while we've been talking. Nothing, no questions. I have nothing.
I have fight news pulled up on mine, so
I got nothing. In fact, I'm doing that.
I got you as well.
So Weekend Trav. I don't know if a lot of folks that are listening are aware of why you're even here, why you're even in Florida. Like, you had a long career, you're doing a lot of stuff in Missouri. I believe you were, working, in a gym or a facility out there anyways. What actually led you here to Florida?
So I had a boxing gym there for almost 8 years. I was also a sports journalist for the St. Joseph News Press, which is actually the town has population 75,000, but I think they had something like a 30,000 subscriber readership or whatever you want to call that for the newspaper place. So it's a pretty big place. So I worked there for 4 years, had my boxing gym there for almost 8. And I'm from there. I'm from a little town about 20 miles away from St. Joe, but that's my home area. And I don't know what it was. I woke up one day, I think I was about 28 years old, and I was like, I think I want something different. So I just started looking around, and I found Mike Sawyer, ironically enough, on my Facebook page, and I seen that he owned a gym called LA Boxing in Orlando. So I just reached out to him. We just started talking back and forth, and he was like, hey, man, he's like, I'm looking for a general manager. Would that be something that you're interested in? And I'd already actually reached out to this place called South Beach Boxing in Miami. So I was on this little journey at 28 years old at a crossroads, and I was like, I'm going to drive from Missouri to Miami and see what this job is all about. And in the process of wanting to do that, I saw Mike Sawyer. So I was like, you know what? He's in Orlando, so that's on my way to Miami. So I reached out to Mike, and I was like, Mike, I'm about to go down there to interview for a job and in South Beach. And he's like, dude, you should stop by here. He's like, I'm looking for a general manager. He's like, you know what? Just come by, check out the place, see how you like it. So I went by there, and B Money's over here taking selfies. And so I told Mike, I was like, you know what? I was like, I'll stop by. It's on literally, if you got your map out, Orlando is Central Florida, Miami, South Florida. So I was coming through already. Came through, I stopped and actually ended up staying at his house for like 2 or 3 days. Stayed actually longer than I was going to stay originally, and liked the gym. And if anybody knows Mike Sawyer, he sold it to me really well. He oversold it.
Well, he's a
salesman.
Mike's a good person, and you know what? He has
vision. What you just said?
He has vision. Okay, and a lot of times when people have vision, they don't really think about how to connect the dots to the vision. They need other people to do that.
Yeah,
and that's okay.
There's nothing wrong with that.
I just don't think he's had the right people with him to help propel vision. So
long story short, I came through. I'm 28 years old. It was awesome. I ended up staying like 3 days. I planned 1 day. Stayed like 3 days, and I told him, he offered me the job there. Mm-hmm. And I told him, I was like, listen, I was originally going down to Miami, so I can't tell you yes or no yet because I'm going down there still. Went down there. It was awesome, but if anybody knows South Beach, Miami, it's just a little too much for this Missouri boy. I'm 28. I was past my party stage, and South Beach was South Beach. Mm-hmm. So it is what you think it is. It's awesome. It's nice. They were paying a lot, but I came back through. I even stopped on my way back through. I stopped in Orlando again, saw him. I was like, hey, I got to go home. I drove back to Missouri. I thought the whole way. You want to know something crazy? I told IRINA this too. I drove home from Florida to Missouri, and I did not turn the radio on one time. I was not even kidding. We're talking about 20-plus hours of pure silence.
That's when you know you're processing.
It was. And that was literally the best time of my life. I was by myself, and I drove up across the country. I mean, it's like a 20-some hour drive straight through.
Yep.
And I made that drive without one time turning the radio on. Still to this day, I'm like, people are like, no way. I'm like, and I wasn't on my phone either. I was driving and that's it, man. I was just enjoying the scenery. This is what, 8-9 years ago. So we're looking at what, 2012, 2013, somewhere in that time frame. So I don't know, man. I was just enjoying it. I was literally, nowadays it's hard to think about that because people got their head in their phones and all this other stuff. Even when they're driving, their head's in their phone. But I was just enjoying this beautiful country because I was driving across most of the country, half of the country at least, from Florida to Missouri. So I got to drive through some really cool, beautiful places. I got to think a lot, man, because I was in this town, Osborne, Missouri, for 28 years, Brandon.
Yeah.
My whole life.
Yeah.
Literally my whole entire life. Like, I was there. Granted, I turned pro when I was 20. I traveled the world in that process as well, but I always came back to Osborne. I always had a house there. I always stayed there. So this was a tough decision for me to get out of my shell, get out of my comfort zone. And that's what now that I've done it, it's been, 8 or 9 years now. I tell everybody, it sucked, man. I made that move, and honestly, there's bumps in the road still. So when I finally decided to make that move, I told Mike, I said, I need to sleep on it. Gave me a couple weeks. I finally gave him the decision. I was like, I think I'm going to do it. I shut my gym down, which sucked because I had little kids there that I trained from 8 years old to like 12 years old now.
Yeah.
So making that decision, not only to move my small town, to shut this gym down where I was helping little kids it's underprivileged kids. I charged $25 a month to train at my gym.
Yeah.
$25 a month. So I was helping a lot of people that honestly probably couldn't originally afford that stuff, and it was really cool. But so I made the decision, man, to move from my little small town, Osborne, Missouri, population 400. That's where I lived my entire life. Now I'm coming to Orlando, Florida. Big difference.
Yeah.
I came here, and it wasn't what I was expecting. I was here for about 6 months, and it was just... I'm still friends with Mike Sawyer.
Of course.
But we had major differences of opinions and differences of where the business is going to go. And I was a general manager, and I wanted to do it this way. I'd already had my successful gym for, 8+ years. So it didn't work out. We parted on good ways, and I ended up leaving that job. But there were so many times, B-Money, that I was sitting there in my apartment by myself thinking, did I make the right decision?
Sure.
I was comfortable in Osborne. And that's the key word that I want everybody to really self-evaluate. I was comfortable.
Yeah.
I wasn't growing. I wasn't evolving. I was comfortable in my little small bubble of Osborne, Missouri. I was going to my gym. I was going to my news press where I was working at the time, and I was coming home doing nothing.
But in those circumstances, you were never put in a position to question it.
Yep.
And that has to do with the comfort zone deal. I think you being in the Orlando area at that point, even though it wasn't working out right, but to be in a situation to where you had to challenge yourself, was this right? If it's not right, what now?
Yep.
And to me, it's constantly advancing the ball, right? It's no longer just you're settled and that's just okay. You're just doing okay. You're always wanting to pursue something greater or better or whatever it is. Adversity comes, you work through it. What do you learn from it? You grow, you move on, that sort of thing. Don't burn bridges. That's the other thing.
Yeah, and easily, and I've actually had friends that have conversations with me all the time about making those big moves and should they do it, what happens, or the friends that made the big moves and went through some trying times. And honestly, B-Money, there was many times that I was just like, 6 months went by, 7 months went by, and I was like, I'm going to go back home. Yeah. I'm like, this obviously didn't work out. And I gave my 2 weeks notice in him. I resigned in good nature, all that stuff. We were all good. And I was just like, what am I going to do now? And at this time, I was a professional boxer at the time still too. So money wasn't really at the forefront because I was making money. So when I retired from that, it was fine. Or when I resigned from the gym was fine because I was still making money being a professional boxer. Sure. And being a professional boxer, you can go anywhere and do that. So it didn't matter where I necessarily lived. So I was like, you know what? Irina was a professional tennis player at the time. I was like, I'm going to go with her. So I'm not kidding. For about a year and a half, I traveled with her. We went to Australia. We went to New Zealand. We went to China. We went to Japan. We went to, England, everywhere you can think of. But here's the kicker, though. I didn't just go. This wasn't like this little freelance vacation. It was, and this is how I work because you know me by now too. I'm always wanting more. I'm not since I got out of that comfort zone of being in Osborne, Missouri, I've always wanted more and more. And then I get something, I want it again, and just keep going. So I want to keep progressing. And when I resigned from that job in Orlando, and I decided, I ended up buying out my lease at the apartment that I was at. I put my stuff in storage for 2 years. And I'm not kidding. I didn't have a home for 2 years. I traveled, and I learned what I really wanted. I helped her in the process as well because, we're both into fitness and things like that. So I helped her a lot on the road as well. And
both professional athletes.
And she actually, to this day, because she hasn't played for about a year now, but to this day, she achieved her highest ever tennis ranking in the world when we were traveling in that 2 years. She's never hit that again. She ain't hit it before. So I think it helped her, and it also helped me come to the conclusion of really what I was wanting to do. And fast forward, we did that for about 2 years, and I learned that I loved to travel. That was cool, but it was also exhausting. 30-some weeks out of the year, we were in a hotel or an airport every week.
Yeah. So let me pause you right there, because if you did not actually take the position in Florida and you were in Osborne still with the gym, whatever else, would you have been in the same position to go with her across the world, see the world in all these circumstances, meet, you've already met a ton of cool people in your world and whatever else, but do you think that you would have still chosen to do that if you would have stayed in Osborne the whole time?
No. And I was already with her. I was dating her probably 8 months while I lived in Missouri. So for a fact, no, I wouldn't have. And that's why, listen, when I moved to Orlando, it didn't work out, and it was really crappy. I mean, that was probably in one of the most stressful times of my life. That 6 months that I worked there with Mike,
sure.
It was one of the most stressful times of my life. It was something that I was uncomfortable with because I was out of my comfort zone big time, and it was multiple things. I was outside of my comfort zone. Me and Mike, our personalities, whatever it is, they didn't mesh.
Yeah.
They didn't work well. Yeah. I think maybe both of us were. I think Mike is an alpha type of personality, and so am I. And at the end of the day, it really clashed because I'm like, I know what I'm doing, and he's like, I know what I'm doing, and therefore there wasn't a middle ground there.
Right.
But for your story, or to kind of like fast forward a little bit, I didn't just give up when I hit a little hurdle. I didn't just quit when I hit that little hurdle. I could have literally tucked my tail between my legs and ran home because Missouri's always going to be there. My small town's always going to be there. And that's kind of something my dad always told me. He was like, go for it, Trav. He's like, because literally your family, everybody that's there, they're going to be there when you get back. If you ever decide to come back, it's always going to be there. Like, Osborne's not leaving and going anywhere. He's like, so why not just go for it and give it a try? And so, like, I mean, that's what I did. But right.
But see, it was a high-risk choice, and the high reward might not have been in the moment, or might not have been in the short term, but the long term. Now that you can look backwards on it, backwards several years from now, you could see the perspective is, wow, I did all this stuff. I was able to do these things. Now, I mean, obviously now where you're at currently, but if you did not actually make that decision to come here to the Orlando area, you might still be in Osborne, which isn't bad. Okay, I don't want to say.
I love that. I do, and you know that. I don't talk bad on Osborne because I love it.
Not at all.
I love it. I
Not
think one day I might be back there, honestly, by choice for sure. But I think one day I probably might.
Sure. So we don't want to say that. Oh yeah, small town living is this is much better.
It's
no.
peaceful and
But for
beautiful.
your story, you had so many opportunities come to fruition because of that one choice, which in the moment felt poor for like 6 months.
It did.
But now looking back, that opened the doors to all these other things too. So let me ask you, because I know you had mentioned like IRINA, obviously. Give me some perspective there. When did you all meet? What's that story?
Oh my goodness, that is a long one. But just real fast on that story about coming to Orlando, the 6 months there was terrible. I learned really fast to not regret that decision at all because it's what made me who I am today. And that's what everybody needs to know.
Correct.
That everybody's journey, you're not going to make all the right decisions. You're not. I promise you. You're just not. You're going to have bumps in the road, and it's going to be how bad do you want it? How much more uncomfortable do you want to get? Because every single thing that you go through molds you into who you are today. We all have our own journey, and I tell everybody this. My journey is not your journey. So don't try to be like I did. Your journey's just going to be different. However it is, it's just different.
Every once in a while, we're on the connecting flight together, but our destinations are different.
Yep.
So we might be traveling together for a short period of time, and that's okay. So yeah, you're right. You build through adversity. adversity doesn't define a person. It's how you respond to it.
Yep.
It's how you respond to it.
It's what's the old saying? It's not about how many times you get knocked down. It's about how many times you get back up.
That was Rocky talking to his son in Balboa.
Exactly. And it's so profound and true. It's just, we all get knocked down. I don't care who you are. Even the greats get knocked down. And we just seen a boxing match where the kid got knocked down hard and he got back up and he won.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in life, that's what it's about. It's about getting knocked down, and it's not staying down. You can never fail until you quit. And that's exactly, never quit, period. No matter what it is, never quit. And you can never fail. If you never quit, you'll never fail. So
let's talk about never failing. Let's talk about the IRINA story a bit. We don't have to get
one.
all the details, but I actually don't know.
It's a good one.
I don't know if I know this. How did you all meet? How did that come about?
So yeah, that's a really good one. It's boxing related too, kind of. So I lived in Missouri, obviously, in my little small town, Osborne, Missouri, population 400. I love to throw it out there. But at a boxing gym in St. Joe, Missouri. And I was working at the newspaper there in St. Joe, and I'd been there for a couple of years, but I was the low man on the totem pole, meaning a tennis tournament came to town. It was called the Noise Tennis Complex, something. It was at the Noise Tennis Complex, and I was sent to cover her she was in college at Georgia Tech. I think she was 20 years old. She was in college at Georgia Tech. She came and played this. It's like a semi-pro tournament so when you're in college playing tennis, you can actually play in pro tournaments and still be amateur and still be eligible. And still be eligible to play. So college players can play pro tournaments and go back and still play college. You're allowed to do that. So if you go play a pro tournament, the money that you receive from that, you have to prove that it cost you that much money to get there, and flights and food and all that stuff. So you get to keep, you can't profit off of it, is what they say. So anyway, long story short, IRINA, phenomenal. She went to Georgia Tech, Division I, All-American, #1 in the nation for 2 years in a row, all this stuff. I didn't know that at the time, but so she's coming to play in a tournament. And I was sent to cover tennis, something I'd never covered before, B-Money. I don't even know how to score tennis. They sent me there at the newspaper to cover it. Didn't even know how to score it. I'm here Googling, how do you score tennis? And I'm writing a story about it. But
I know love is 0, right?
Yes,
okay.
yes. 40 love, yes, and then 0. Yes,
okay.
That's right. So
I'm just
30
kidding.
love,
I know a little more. I know more than that.
Yeah. But so they sent me to cover this girl named Coco Vandeweghe. Who, funny story, we ended up being really good friends with her after.
Sure.
But they sent me to cover Coco Vandeweghe because she was like this 15, 16-year-old phenom, like huge heritage. The family's like in the NBA. They have gold medalists in the family.
Yeah,
like
Kiki
this
Vandeweghe.
girl, yes, basketball player.
Yeah,
so,
for the Nuggets.
Yeah, and then I think they had a uncle or a cousin that was a gold medalist in like volleyball, and her mom, Coco's mom, was like a silver medalist in swimming.
I didn't know that was the same
grandma
family.
was Miss America.
I didn't know that was all the same family.
Yes.
Well, I guess with the name like Vandeweghe, you should probably kind of assume they're all related.
So they were sent to cover her, and I was sent to cover Coco, and guess who Coco played the first round of that tournament? IRINA Falconi.
There you go.
IRINA Falconi beats her.
Mm-hmm.
So it was the first round. So the first round, I'm like, oh, well, I'm sent to cover Coco. Now IRINA beat her. So now the story has to be focused on IRINA now. So I end up covering her all week. It's like a week-long tournament, like 5 days. I hated it, to be completely honest. It was women's tennis. I wasn't a fan. I'd never watched it before, and they're sending me here because the reason why they sent me there was nobody else wanted to cover it. So they send me because I was I just got hired onto the newspaper. So they were like, Travis, you're going. I'm like, I don't want to go. They're like, well, you kind of have to. So I covered it the whole week. She ended up winning the whole thing in singles and doubles. So I covered her all week. But here's the kicker of it all. I had a girlfriend. She had a boyfriend. We covered it. I had glasses and a hat on. I don't even think she probably could pick me out of a lineup after that. But we became friends on Facebook, and I ended up sending her a link to the articles that I wrote about it. Mm-hmm. And then we didn't talk for like 3 years after that. Okay. Then we're talking around March of 2012. Yeah, March of 2012. She plays in this tournament. I didn't talk to her at all. We're still Facebook friends, though. Every once in a while I'd see something pop up, but I didn't think anything of it. So she plays in this tournament in Indian Wells, and it's like Indian Wells qualifying or something. And I see her name. I'm still working at the newspaper, and we have this thing called the Agate Wire. Stories come across. And I'm just scrolling through it. Randomly, I see her name. She didn't, I think she was just like in the first round of qualifying. It wasn't even anything big. And I was like, I remember that girl. So I looked her up on Facebook. I found out we're still friends. I was like, okay, she didn't delete me. That's good. And I'm single now. But that's not why I contacted her. But so I wrote, but listen to this story. She's going to be so mad, but I'm telling her, I don't care. I wrote on her Facebook wall where everybody could see it. It was public. I was like, hey, big time, how you doing? I just seen you did pretty good at Indian Wells. I mean, what's going on? Instead of replying so everybody can see it, she private messages me.
Ooh.
First move.
Slid into your
Slick
DM.
move. She slid into my DMs first. So she knows this is accurate, but she doesn't like to throw it in there. So she slides in the DMs. I just started coming back to boxing too. If anybody knows the story about me, I got in a car wreck and I was out of boxing for 2.5 years. Well, March of 2012, I officially got the clear to come back to boxing. So I started training again and actually fought in June of 2012. So I'm back to training. I haven't had a girlfriend for like 4 or 5 months. I was like, I don't need girls. I'm training. I'm focused. And that's what I'm doing. She didn't have a boyfriend either.
Someone once said girls are the devil.
Who said that, the devil?
No, that was Bobby Boucher's mom.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I'm focused on boxing, and then me and her start private messaging back and forth, and we're literally, I'm telling you, it's the most platonic ever. We're like athletes now. She's pro now.
Okay.
She left college after 2 years. She left early. She was All-American, #1 in the nation in tennis, Division 1 tennis, ACC. But she turned pro. She's pro now. She's going through that whole grind. I'm coming back to the grind. We're literally talking about fitness and like working out and what's going on, where we're going to next. That's all we talked about for like 2 months, 2 or 3 months straight. So it was March, April, May. May comes around. Her birthday is May 4th. May the 4th be with you.
I like that. That's good.
Yeah, people say that to her all the time.
Yeah.
So May 4th is her birthday, which is close to Cinco de Mayo, so that makes it easy for me to remember too. But May comes around. We've been talking nonstop every day, private messaging. And then she sends me her number as well. She made these first moves.
That's when
I
I know
gotta
it's
put it out
serious.
there.
I know it's
She
serious.
said, and this was her excuse why she gave me her number too, because I didn't ask for it. It's not that I didn't want it. I don't know. We were just talking. So she sends me her. She was like, hey, I don't really get on here that much anymore. And this wasn't when Facebook was very mobile. Like it was just true. We're talking about 2012.
That's true. That's
Mobile
very
Facebook
true.
wasn't. So she was like, hey, I don't really get on here that much. Here's my number. You know, if you can text me. I was like, okay. So we started texting. We started texting like every day. Like multiple times during the day.
Listen, that was back before unlimited text was like a
yeah,
real thing.
It was a big deal. And
That's a big deal.
And I'll get better to this story too, because most people that are listening, it's 2021, they're not going to believe this, but like Wi-Fi wasn't prevalent in 2012.
No.
So it's May, and she's getting ready to go over and play in the French Open and Wimbledon. So she's going to Europe for 2 months. And we've been talking every day. And she's like, hey, like I'm getting ready to leave, and like we're not going to be able to talk that much. I was just like, oh crap. Like when I got that initial feeling of like, oh wow, I was like, and I haven't told her, we talked on the phone before, she's on the plane leaving, and I'm like, I know this sounds really weird. I was like, but I think I'm going to miss talking to you. And that's when it clicked. I'm not kidding. That's the moment where I was like, holy crap, I might like this girl. So she goes to Europe. This is when I discovered Skype. So we found Skype. She could only Skype when she was at her hotel because they had Wi-Fi at the hotel, but no, not on your phone. You couldn't do it on your phone because there was no service. So we ended up Skyping for like 4 or 5 hours a day for like 2 months.
Hold on. 4 or 5 hours a day?
Yeah. Like in between practices, she'd come back and like Skype me. Like I'm going to work, and there's a time difference there too, so it's kind of tough because 5 or 6 hours
Think
ahead.
about the things in your day that you can do for 4 or 5 hours.
I know. I was talking to a girl instead.
There's not a lot that I can't even like think. I can only read for 10 to 30 minutes at a time. I can only work out for 90 minutes at a time.
But this was so new because she's a professional tennis player now. She's in a different country.
Weekend Trav, I know you both very well. You can still Skype for 4 or 5 hours to this day,
Yeah,
right? No
probably.
problem. No problem.
And that's the thing though too, is I don't like talking on the phone.
Right.
I don't know why. I just don't like talking on the phone. I never liked I had girlfriends. I didn't like calling them, nothing. But now I'm Skyping with her multiple hours a day.
Is this why you don't answer my phone calls?
Yeah, I don't like to talk on the phone.
I know.
You don't call me that much because
Our
I think you
average
picked
phone
it up.
call is like 45 minutes long, but come on. You don't like picking that up? All right, so you guys are Skyping for 4 or 5 hours. She's out there. And, I know we're trying to keep the time consolidated, but this is very interesting. I want to keep this going.
It gets better.
Walk me through the next stages then. you know, she's in France, then in England, 4 or 5 hours a day on Skype. You're having to adjust your schedule to accordingly in order to communicate with her.
5 or 6 hours. I was like waking up at like 1 a.m., 2 a.m. to watch her play tennis.
Interesting.
I'm like, now I'm getting into tennis because I'm like, oh my God, I know somebody that plays tennis. This is cool.
Now you're the actual tennis reporter for the St. Joe's Gazette or whatever it is.
Right.
So keep going.
St. Joseph News Press.
News Press.
More than a Gazette.
Keep talking to me.
So we're Skyping. Fast forward, she's at Wimbledon in London, England, playing Wimbledon. She tells her coach, so she played the number 1 girl in the world, Victoria Azarenka. So Irina lost first round because this girl's really good, obviously. So Irina loses first round. She comes back. Her coach is like, hey, you know, you got 2 weeks off now. Like, what are you going to do? And she's like, wow. Because she's not used to having any time. She's like, I think I'm going to go see this guy in Missouri. True story. She calls me up and she says, hey, I just booked a flight. I'm coming to see you tomorrow. After we've only been talking, I haven't seen her.
Without even asking.
I haven't seen her in person, B-Money, for almost 4 years.
Weekend Trav.
Haven't seen her in person for that long.
This is the book,
dude. I'm telling you, it's a solid story. We're not even there yet. Still.
Oh my gosh.
We've only been talking now. Now we both have. The original conversations were so platonic for about 3 months. We literally talked to each other, got to know each other on a super platonic. I mean, like,
it is,
I can't emphasize it.
It is, but it is not.
Yes, at the time, obviously it built up to this, but we got to know each other like in the right way. Like we didn't even see each other face to face.
When a man and a woman are talking this extensively, it might seem platonic, but once you start crossing the threshold of an hour to 2 hours to 3 hours.
The convos was platonic.
The conversations are platonic, but the wheels are starting to turn on the inside.
I mean, there was a bond obviously being formed that we didn't realize.
Correct.
Like maybe she did. Maybe she did because she's a little genius, but I wasn't thinking that.
An evil genius.
Yes.
Okay.
So all the way, she's in England. She calls me up. She's like, "Hey, can you pick me up at the airport tomorrow?" I go, "Huh?" Froze because I'm not kidding. I haven't seen her in almost 4 years. Even though we've Skyped video. Still, you don't know. Like, you don't know what it's going to be like in person. Like, I'm like, I don't know if I'm ready for this. Like, oh my gosh. And then she's like.
And it's calling your bluff a little bit because at that point she knows what you've told her is, listen, I'm training. I'm getting building up for this fight or whatever. I'm single, you know, but my mind's clear. So now it's calling your bluff.
Yeah.
Like,
she called it hard.
Yeah. What if Weekend Trav was a big liar, which he's not. But what if he has some stuff going on already?
Would have been scary.
Yeah, you're flying in you get in a little propeller plane, flying into St. Joe's, not knowing if
Kansas City. They flew into Kansas City.
Sure. Okay, and then having to take a bus. I don't know.
I wouldn't pick her up.
Oh, okay.
It's only a 50-minute drive to the airport, so it's not crazy.
I'm kidding. Yeah. I know it's not.
But it is in the middle of nowhere.
Backwoods.
It is in the middle of nowhere, but it's only a 50-minute drive to the airport. So she calls me up, and then after she made the decision, booked a flight. She's literally flying from London, England, to Osborne, Missouri, population 400. Okay,
nice.
Let that register. Crazy. I'm like, yeah, come. Sure, this will be awesome. Then she calls me. She just landed in Chicago. That was her connecting flight. And the Chicago flight to Kansas City is only like an hour and 15. So that's when it really ramped up. I'm like, but let me throw you another curveball for her. I wasn't going to see my dad for like a while because he was traveling for work now. So I was like, hey, I already told her, she knew, but I was like, hey, I'm picking up from the airport. We're going to have dinner with my dad. She met my dad off of a flight from London, England.
And it's literally the second time that she's met you.
Yeah, in person in like 4 years. This is a crazy story, man. The fact that we're still here right now to this day, it's crazy. But so I pick her up. I miss the exit to go to this restaurant. She thinks I'm lost. And like, I'm not lost. I knew I missed the exit. So she's like, oh my God, this guy, like, what the heck's wrong with him? So I turn around and get the exit. This is the funniest story because my dad still tells the story. Irina still tells the story. I'm going to tell it to you now.
Good. I want to hear it.
Hopefully you laugh. So my dad, he's never met her, obviously, ever. So he knows that she's coming in. He knows pretty much the story. And his girlfriend's with him too. So we're having dinner with my dad and his girlfriend. So we get there. And I see my dad, 'cause I haven't seen him for a while. I give him a hug. I'm like, I love you, Pops, miss you, Pops. You know my dad's my best friend. So
Sure.
Irina goes in for the hug for him, and he literally goes like this. Welcome to our country.
What?
And he started bowing.
Why? Why is he doing that?
Because she was coming from England? I don't know. He thought it was funny. Irina is mortified. Mortified. Like, she didn't say, I couldn't tell at the time because I'm like, what are you doing, Dad? I didn't look at her. I was looking at him like, what are you doing? Most guys that we tell this story to start laughing, but most of the girls go, and their jaw drops. So my dad said, welcome to this. So she couldn't tell.
Did he think she was from somewhere else?
No, he knew she was from here, but he was saying it because she was coming from England. But she took it as, you racist son of a gun, I'm from America. Because she's born in Ecuador, so she thought he was saying, like, he's being stupid. But he wasn't. He was like, you came from England. So anyway, he does that. That's the first time she's met him, mind you. The very first time. After she flew in from London that night, she flew in, picked her up, went to have dinner. So that happened. We sit down, and this is the funny story too, because we're at a Mexican restaurant, a really good Mexican restaurant actually, in Kansas City. And Irina orders salmon at a Mexican restaurant.
All right, for those listening and watching at home, I'm quarter Mexican. We don't cook salmon. We don't.
We're also in a landlocked state,
correct.
Missouri.
I mean, maybe the Mexicans on the coast, they cook fish often.
Maybe.
Fish tacos is an American thing. It's not a Mexican thing.
So
wow. So she orders salmon
at a Mexican restaurant. So immediately when I heard her order that, I was like, wow, this girl is really nervous. And I could see her. I'm like, she's sitting beside me. My dad's across the table. And like, I can just tell after the whole welcome to our country. And then I noticed that she ordered salmon at a Mexican restaurant in a landlocked state. And I'm just like, I looked at her. I put my hand on her leg. And I was like, hey, you okay? And like, she'll tell the story. She's like, as soon as you did that, she was like, I was just like, I'm good now. And then the night went well. We had the dinner. She found out my dad was funny, like really funny. If you met my dad, you know this. He's a funny guy. So she wasn't offended. She figured out now that she wasn't offended. But she was at first. So take her home to my house. Mind you, she's staying with me. This was another predicament that I was in. It was at a 3-bedroom house, so she was going to have her own bedroom. Mm-hmm. But I was like, she's staying for a week.
For the kids listening at home?
But truthfully, we really did, though.
Yeah.
So she was staying for a week. But in my mind, being money, I'm like, I haven't seen this girl in 4 years. I just committed to her being here for a week. What if it didn't work out?
Yeah.
What if like our in-person chemistry was not there, which easily can happen?
I'm sure there's a lot to do in St. Joe's.
I was in Osborne at the time. We did. So this is another funny story. She lands. She gets there. I got her bed made up for her and everything. Another room.
Did the folks of Osborne like lay out a parade?
They didn't know she was coming.
As an outsider.
She gets up the next morning and goes for a run, and she comes back to the house and she was like, "I just saw cows for the very first time down the street." And I was just like, oh, yeah, we're in Osborne. Like, there's cows literally like a couple blocks away. She was like, yeah, I've never really seen that before.
No one pulled out a shotgun or anything?
No, luckily.
An outsider running around?
Luckily, they didn't. So it was a little crazy for sure. But, so long story short, I officially asked her to be my girlfriend on July 1st, 2012.
Was that the same trip or no? Or was she in town or that was a later time?
Nope, that was the London trip. So when she came from
Okay, so hold on, because I'm going to stop you there.
Uh-oh.
Because this is interesting.
Okay.
And I need a cliffhanger. Okay? So she was with you in Osborne. Mm-hmm. The trip goes good. Mm-hmm. Goes well, I should say. And
she's here at the end of June into the July 4th. She spent the July 4th with us.
So walk me through the end of the trip. And then we're going to stop the story there. And then I think we might carry that into another episode.
Ooh, I like it. All right.
So walk me through the trip and the end of the trip for her and how she leaves.
So the trip goes well. July 1st, I asked her officially. I was like, hey, will you be my girlfriend? Like officially, let's make this official. And oh my gosh, you know what? I skipped so much. I skipped a really big part actually.
Okay, go back and tell us.
I skipped a big part. Okay, yeah. So January, March, April, probably April of that 2012 we met, or we started talking again in March, probably April. She played a tennis match in the finals and lost the finals. So she had a few drinks at a bar, and she sends me this message on Facebook and says, hey, do you think it'd be funny if we got in a fake Facebook relationship? I'd only been talking to her for like a month, mind you. Okay? I didn't respond for like 3 days to her because I was like, who is this crazy person? And like, I'm like, what?
But part of you was also intrigued.
It was, but at first I was like, this girl's crazy. But a couple days go by and I was like, I'm gonna throw people for a curveball because nobody knew who she was at all. None of my friends knew who she was. They didn't even know we were talking. Because I'm like a very private guy as well with a lot of stuff. Like people don't know who I'm talking to 90% of the time because like I just don't put it out there. So I was like, 2 days go by and I'm like, I message her back and I go, yeah, let's do it. It's fake though, right? She's like, yeah. Because we were just friends, literally, I'm telling you. But she was an evil genius maybe. Maybe she thought more. But I was like, it's fake for sure. I was like, because I was single. I was talking to other people. I was single. But I was like, yeah, let's do it. Like, she's going to blow everybody's mind. It's going to blow everybody's mind on my side because they're like, who the hell is IRINA Falconi? So
it's kind of like when you're looking at a land purchase and you're like, I'm going to put a bid in. The bid's in. The realtors know. The realtors can work with that. But the bid and the offer's in, right? That's what it is. So Weekend Trav.
You think she was starting a bidding war?
With no one, evidently. There's no other person on the other side. So I don't want to take away from that element of the story. Let's kind of put the bow on the visit to Osborne. We're going to then stop the story and bring it back up, maybe next week, depending on the news cycle.
Yeah.
But let's wrap up
There's
the
a lot
Osborne.
more to this still.
Oh, I'm sure there is. Because here we are in 2021, and you guys are here, and here we are. So Osborne.
So
July
July 1st, I asked her to be my girlfriend. She said yes. My birthday is July 2nd. Smart Travis. I will never forget that day because it's one day before my birthday. So I always know our anniversary.
Maybe you are the evil
It's
genius.
amazing. Perfect. So I know this. So this year will be 9 years. July 1st will be 9 years. But so we ended up leaving. She was going to play world team tennis in like Boston and New York. And this is a true cliffhanger because this is how it happened. She said, hey, I don't know when we're going to see each other again. I'm going to Boston. I'm going to be traveling the world. And I'm like, yeah, like, you're my girlfriend now, and I really like you, and what are we going to do now? And that's literally, she left. And we spent an amazing week together, and boom. Now I'm like, what the hell's going to happen now?
And if you want to hear the rest of the story, you tune in to episode 30.
It gets good, I promise.
Of Weighing In with Travis Hartman. That will be next week. Thank you for sharing all that. That was actually very good. It's like for me, I'm sitting back and I don't know all this stuff.
A lot of people don't know that story.
I know you guys and I don't know this stuff.
A lot of people don't because it's a long story.
So I love this. And you know what? Maybe she'll listen finally to hear your side of her story. And you know what would be great?
Get a rebuttal.
I want the rebuttal. I want her on.
Bring it on.
This corner.
Bring it on.
In this corner.
Deal. That's a good deal.
I will interview her.
I love it. Let's do it.
So anyways, that was great. Thank you so much. Next week, depending on the news cycle, depending on the boxing news, we will jump back into that. And we're going to wrap up right now. So for those that have been subscribing or are not, click subscribe.
Got it.
Subscribe. Because all I'm doing right here is drinking and listening to you.
Unanimous decision?
Yeah. Listen, I've been drinking and listening to you the whole time. Goodness gracious. And I'm the producer.
Good job, man.
Thanks. Thank you so much to our media partners. I'm going to go backwards. IF Enterprises, Gulfstream Financial, and TH Boxing. If you watched our second vlog, you'll see a little bit of the sampling of what goes on in here. We posted a video of Weekend Trav working with the youth. We're going to do a little bit more about some of the older folks and things like that. He is in here busting his hump every day. Tomorrow, I think you have 9 clients coming in. 9.
Starting at 5 a.m.
Starting at 5 a.m. So if you are in the Orlando area, the Lake Nona, Orlando area, reach out to us. I'm sure you have.
Show us some love.
You have an hour slot somewhere, right?
Yeah, on the weekend, but then Weekend Trav can't come out.
Weekend Trav can always come out on Sundays. So thank you so much. If you're subscribing, thank you. If you're not, hit that button because if not, now I think both of us are going to show up to your house, knock on the door. You're going to answer the door. You're going to ask us to come in, maybe for some coffee, maybe a crumpet, maybe a treat.
Tea and crumpets.
And then when you're in the kitchen, actually whipping that up for us, and we're sitting there, and we're looking on your internet, typing away like, wait a minute, he doesn't subscribe? We're going to subscribe for you, go to your kitchen, and then both of us simultaneously punch you in the stomach.
That was money. That was literally money, B-money.
That was B-money.
It was.
So thanks again for tuning in. Let's close it. That there is Weekend Trav.
That there is B-money, a.k.a. producer.
And I didn't even have a chance or an opportunity to talk about the Packers. Go Pack, go.
Actually, I'll give you some credit. And the Kansas City Chiefs.
And the Chiefs won today,
Cleveland.
too.
I'm not a Chiefs fan, but I'm a Missouri guy. I love to give some respect to Missouri teams, so go Chiefs.
I would love that Super Bowl, those two teams. So anyways, thank you for tuning in. As always, God bless.